Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Osa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams, and today I'm the founder and principal of Osa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment.
Our guest today is John Vieregg, whose journey from the ranches of Nebraska to the world of real estate development has been nothing short of remarkable. With over 2 decades of experience, he's successfully owned and operated businesses like Interiors Marketplace and Post and Gray, and was a partner in Bourbon Boards, an enterprise dedicated to repurposing antique materials. Currently, John serves as the managing partner of CoCoTiv Coworking in Charlotte's Montford Park District, with ambitions to expand its reach across the Southeast. Join us for an engaging conversation as we delve into John's inspiring career and his vision for the future of co-working spaces.
John, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
Very well, Jack. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Yeah,
And the beverage.
Yes.
Cheers.
So, John, tell me a little bit about yourself, your story. Where did you grow up, and kind of how did you get to where you are today?
Wow, how much time do we have?
2 hours.
I was born in Nebraska.
Oh,
my,
wow.
My father was a cattle rancher, and really that was probably my dream, because I loved our cattle ranch was actually 2.5 miles from the town I grew up in, Grand Island, Nebraska. It was up in the sand hills of Nebraska, but I would have been a 4th generation rancher, and
Wow.
worked there in the summers, and it was really good experience, hard work. While all my friends were back home going to swimming pools and playing golf, I was having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go milk cows and get the eggs from the chickens, and then I'd be out in hay fields all day. But it really instilled a great work ethic, and
Sure.
I think it's carried through the rest of my life. I just really enjoyed the time working on the ranch, and unfortunately, it was a family-owned business, and the other families were really wanting to get out. So we sold the ranch my senior year in high school. I went on to the University of Nebraska for 1.5 years and studied agriculture, and only took me 3 semesters to figure out it's going to be a little difficult to go into ranching without a ranch to run.
Yeah.
So I decided to make a change in my career path, and transferred to Arizona State University and got a degree in real estate. Went on to work for the Del Webb Corporation. You might know them from Sun City. And Sun City,
Yeah.
we were the largest home builder in Arizona. We only had 2 projects, but those 2 projects consisted of close to 65,000 residents between Sun City and Sun
Wow.
City West. I was actually in the commercial division and did land development. Then moved into a company that did vertical development to shopping centers, and was in that business for another 2 years, and ended up getting married. And my wife at the time was from Charlotte, and we really wanted to raise our family either back in the Midwest or potentially Charlotte, and we chose Charlotte. Moved here in 1991, and started a business. Opened up the Atherton Mill in 1993. Was the first
Okay.
tenant in the Atherton Mill when no one was living there, and people were saying I was crazy.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to go over there. And I looked at it as like, wow, what am I missing here? Because it's you had these great neighborhoods of Dilworth and Myers Park within minutes. Uptown was no more than a mile.
Sure.
So we opened up Atherton Mill with the help of Tony Presley and Mecca Properties.
Yeah.
Then eventually was on the trolley board, which helped lead the way for light rail, and really spent my next 20 years in the retail business in
Wow.
furniture. So
So
I got
what made you change careers, from all your real estate experience to say, I'm switching to having my own business, and now I'm going into, supporting a local store, creating my own business, getting into furniture world. What made you change?
I think our own success hurt us in that when we went in and signed our first lease back in 1993, I think it was at $7 a square foot. The Atherton Mill eventually sold to a large developer, Edens and Avant, and the rents just kept on increasing. So
Mm-hmm.
and we had the nature of our business was subleasing to small antique dealers,
Mm-hmm.
furniture manufacturers, artists. And so our profits kept on getting condensed the higher the rent went. So we ended up moving from the Atherton Mill over to what used to be Myers Park Hardware. And the problem is that we went from 16,000 square feet down to 4,000 square feet, and it was a great store, very profitable, but just wasn't the profitability I needed to continue raising a family.
Yeah.
And made a transition. Actually, got into the reclaimed wood business for a while, which was fun. Had two other partners, and we acquired the rights to the demolition rights to the Old Crow Distillery. It was the first distillery ever built,
Mm-hmm.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Thank you. In the United States, and got into a business that I probably didn't know enough about. We launched a concept called bourbon boards in 2007, 2008, right before the recession hit, and just wasn't a good time. So did that for a while, but I knew I eventually wanted to get back on my own again. And a local developer contacted me, said, hey, I've got a building. I'm thinking about doing a WeWork type concept. And, I had read about WeWork. I really didn't know a lot about them other than I thought it was sort of key man space. I thought, wow, it's sort of what I was been doing for the last 20 years with retail.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is interesting. Well, I sort of went down the road and went down to Atlanta to actually check out a WeWork and Industrious. I thought, wow, I really like this concept. I wish I'd known about this
Yeah.
many years ago. I might have converted that retail into office space back
Yeah.
then.
Did you have any experience with office tenancy before?
I did not. I did not. I shouldn't say I would. I mean, I was a broker. I did a few small office deals, but that wasn't retail was really my specialty at the
Yeah.
time. So
Interesting.
yeah, we that particular deal fell through, but it spiked my curiosity. And then a good friend of mine, Rob Cochran, who used to run the Cushman and Wakefield office, said, "You got to go check out this building over on Park Road."
Mm-hmm.
Owned by Grubb Properties. He said they're looking for a tenant. They're actually considering maybe doing co-working themselves. So I did, and I knew Clay, and his wife was one of my better customers when I was in the retail business, and I came over to the building that you eventually came into at
Yeah.
one point in time, and it was a challenge because the ceilings were no more than 9 feet high,
Right.
and I knew we couldn't drop ceilings. There just was a lot of challenges with that building, but I think we overcame that and designed a really cool, workable space.
Sure. Yeah. No, I really enjoyed my time in there, and one thing is what how the building was maximized because, as you said, small floor to floor ceilings. There's a lot of concrete, but I think the design was very well done. The distribution of space is very efficient. It's not too big, it's not too small. It seems that there was a lot of thinking, knowledge, and experience behind it.
Right.
Because sometimes people design things and they realize, a year later, oh, we should have done this, we should have done that, which is normal because things change all the time. But I think the first solution was very, very interesting. And the other thing that I really value, appreciate was, a whole different type of attitude and approach to the market. because when you get into that um, industry, you have a lot of competitors, and
True.
starting with WeWork that was so big, and there are multiple other big chains that are in town that you're competing against. But I think the way you put it together, it was very interesting. I really like, when we first met years ago and I started um, working there. I was there 3 years, and I can for sure attribute a lot of what's happening here today with my own business. That it was because I was there so long. You always talk about not only the space, but the supporting small businesses, helping people grow, helping people take the business to the next level. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of all that. I think as a tenant, one of the things that I really uh, appreciate, I was very surprised that was so incredible, was just the mix of people. Since you have
Hmm.
so many different industries, but everybody shares the same spirit. Everybody's growing, everybody wants to help each other. So there you start networking. That's where I met my partners today to buy this building and design this office. So it's incredible the impact that it can have, not just the co-working, but approaching it from a very sincere and human side,
Sure.
understanding the value of the offering that you bring into to local businesses.
Well, as well as anyone, because you've experienced the CoCoTiv mission, and that mission really, as I told you early on, was to help businesses grow.
Yeah.
You started as a sole proprietor, come from a very large architectural firm, and have grown this into this beautiful office where you are today. And I hated to see you go
Yeah.
and your other two partners, but that's our goal.
Yeah.
And you're a perfect example of what we're trying to accomplish. Help businesses grow, and obviously, from within. But there's a certain point where sometimes our members need to expand and move on. And you're a case study of. So I, no, it was a pleasure to get to know you, and we're still doing business. And I
Hmm.
think that's the other thing that you just mentioned. Almost all the professionals I deal with are members of CoCoTiv.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we want to support local. We support local businesses and really emphasize that point. And I think that goes back to my retail days. And the more you can support local, the more you support your local economy.
Sure, because you're supporting your own community.
Absolutely.
So it's just, I always say life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. You just add value, help people, help your community, and somehow that benefit comes back at you
Right.
some way. You don't even have to know how it does,
Yeah.
because it's the same community.
Sure.
So one thing I'd like to know more about this period of time, COVID, where, you guys were kind of starting. I remember I was there, some months, it was just by myself at the office in this floor. And, many people went out of business. You could have given up and said, okay, this is not working. We're not operating the way we wanted to do it. It was a big surprise for everyone. But at the end of the day, I feel that what you did with CoCoTiv is came out of the other side stronger, and even much better than what it was before. Tell me about that experience and how you guys navigated that.
Well, I think like everyone, you try to forget COVID and move on,
Yeah.
but we all had to live through it. And more than anyone, we had tremendous success with our first floor, and then we expanded. And we what we saw was the demand was mostly in private offices. So when we expanded to the seventh floor, we designed that with 52 private offices, and we opened in the end of November 2019, and even at that point, we were already 60% pre-leased, and I felt like we're probably within another 4 months we would be fully stabilized. Well,
Yeah.
it took a turn once COVID hit, and really shut us down for almost the next year, and it really impacted our open space. We could no longer bring members back.
Sure.
You were an essential member, and I had to
Yeah.
laugh because I would see other people come into their office, and they're like, I know I'm not essential. I'm like, I don't even know you're here. Okay.
Yeah.
And no one else does either. As far as you're essential to me, and that's all that
Yes.
I care about. So yeah, it was just a strange period of time, but we had a very favorable landlord in Grub Properties that helped us on that end. Like many others, we took out the PPP loan, and it was just a
Hmm.
matter of survival.
Yeah.
And I really felt like if we could get through that period, it would come back. And surprisingly, much like how co-working first started was during a recession, and a lot of people being laid off and starting new careers, and it sort of moved that started that movement for companies to take space in these co-working offices. And I think the term has changed so much just over the last couple of years into flex space, hybrid space, and we're seeing more and more of that today. And where we benefit versus maybe a traditional landlord is companies want flexibility in their terms, and we've always been about flexibility.
Right.
Even we with our office space, we normally signed a 12-month lease, but during COVID, if someone wanted to come in for 3 months, we'd sign them, or 6 months, and we've maintained that. And normally what we've found is if we can get someone in initially for even whether it's a 3 or 6 month period, they're going to renew and
Yeah.
continue renewing. So we have benefited, and I think the hybrid model is here to stay, and I think the co-working flex space option is going to be an alternative
Oh, sure.
for many years to come.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
Yeah, I think that what co-working is doing to our industry and the workplace, it's still in its infancy, because you have one extreme, which is you work at the office and you go there every day, 5 days a week, or you work from home, which is the other
Right.
extreme. I think co-working offers that middle space where you go, but you don't have to, and it's flexible. Like, one of the key things for me was, as a small business, I wasn't comfortable signing a, even if it's a small office, a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease, because you have all the uncertainties about revenue. You don't know where money's coming from.
Right.
So that flexibility of terms was huge, because I could say, okay, I think I can do this, and it doesn't apply too much pressure to what I'm doing. And the other thing that I think is huge is the concept of co-working, even for large corporations. For example, you can say Bank of America or Duke Energy, companies with thousands of employees. If they implement a co-working style in their environment, I think that will be huge. Even allowing other businesses to go in there, small businesses. I think that might be the next level of hybrid collaboration between the two extremes of just work from home or be at this large corporation at this building every single day. I think co-working still has a lot of room to move and provide opportunities, even if you're in one of these companies, might be the president of the energy, something like that.
Hmm.
Instead of bringing people to your own building, just sign contracts with co-working spaces close to where people live. And with technology today is amazing. You feel close, you have, all the amenities you need. So I really think that there is a lot of opportunities of co-working to really branch out even more from what it's doing today.
I'll tell you a funny story because it it leads directly to what you just emphasized. During COVID, there was we got a call from a very lovely lady who was saying that she needed to help her husband find office space. Well, when I learned who he was a top exec for one of the larger corporations in the South Park area. But she said, we've been married for 25 years. We have a wonderful marriage. But if I don't get my husband out of the house,
Yeah.
there's going to be trouble. He said, I want to keep this marriage where it is today.
Yeah.
And he sort of said the same thing. He said, oh, no, this has been a blessing. Well, ironically, when they finally moved back to the office, he stayed at CoCoTiv. He said, I'm not moving. He said, I like this office too much.
Mm-hmm.
He said, not that I don't enjoy my colleagues, but this gives me a fresh look and talking to, he's, very social, likes meeting the other members. And he said, nope, this is my office from now on.
Sure.
I'm just staying here.
Yeah.
So, but and you experienced that too. I think we started that program, the CoTivation, which was essentially a ad hoc board of directors,
Mm-hmm.
and it was unfortunately we utilized Pfeiffer University, their dean of marketing, who taught this, and I had nothing to do. I mean, I set this up, but it was all organic.
Yep.
And you had yourself like an architect. We had law,
Yep.
finance, social media, and set forth goals over a 6-week period, and then had accountability on how we're moving forward, trying
Yep.
to accomplish those goals. We look to start that up again this fall, but it's that's something once again that we're giving back to our members that they're not going to find elsewhere if they're all with part of one company and not get that outside exposure.
That is a huge differentiator because, one of the things that is very common or every person that starts a business and is in the early stages faced is there is a point where you feel, lost and lonely because you're making all these decisions every day, new challenges. You need to face new situations that you didn't face before. But now creating that sense of community around, we're all experiencing the same
Sure.
thing. We all need to get more insurance. We need more clients.
Right.
We need to improve our operations. How do you do that? So adding that layer to that will be amazing. And I know I was part of that incubator group, and it was really good. And I think that could be the next level for what you guys are doing because we all need it. And sometimes it's accessible, sometimes it's very expensive.
Right. Right.
Sometimes there are many groups that I know can do it, but we're all very busy. We're
Sure.
trying just to just pay the bills, get the sale, just cash flow, make it happen. That we don't even have time to think about. Oh, there are strategies.
True.
There is some information we need to research, but we don't have time.
No.
But creating a space where you have access to that community and information is huge.
And I think it's, when I went into this, it's like, how do I separate myself from the national companies, i.e. WeWork, Industrious? And it's like, I got to bring this back to a level where I can actually help my members. It's just not, we all can design, you can design a great office environment, but it's like what happens within that office.
Yeah.
And, and then you also have to combine that with social events. We're part of the Montford Park community. We're tied into that. And all of our members, when anything's happening in Montford Park, they get invited to these events. So it's not only just within CoCoTiv in our building, they get to get out and meet other businesses that are in our district.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about a lot is, and I do a lot of office design. It's a big part of our business is this setting of going to work, and then you go to your house, and then you're with your family, and there is this conversation about work life balance, and there is work, there is life, but there is no work life. Is you is life. you
That's
just
true.
you just here, or you're here, but
Right.
you're the same person. You
True.
still have the same ideas, feelings, concerns. You're just a human living life. The fact that you're in different places, there is no balance. It's
That's
just you. And I feel that the extreme of corporate tower, go work 8 hours, you're more machine like, right? You're just part of a production machine,
Mhm.
which I understand how that works, but it's more dehumanizing
Sure.
versus when you're at home and you're not working. Well, maybe you're just living life, but maybe you're not being that productive, and you're not able to provide for your family. But once you put those things together, and we talk about the office space, and I always said this even when I used to work at companies designing amazing spaces, and I will say, well, I think we give too much credit to our design.
Hmm.
And because you see this great architecture firm saying, oh, look at this beautiful design, and this company achieved this and that. The fact that you're there, if the culture is horrible, if you
Right.
don't have friends,
Right.
if
Right.
they don't treat you well, you can have the greatest space,
Yeah.
but your life will be not the best, and you're not get, you don't will not be successful just because the space looks good.
Sure.
So there are so many aspects of creating a workplace that is humanizing and that is good for business, that are beyond the built environment. So that's where I think this combination of design, which that's what I do, and I value it, and do create a great design that looks good, that you like it, that you enjoy it, that is functional and beautiful, and then you pair that with a community that thinks the way you think, so you feel that you're not alone, and then you get all this information, knowledge, and value that helps you take the business to the next level, which in turn you'll need probably more space later. So now you're developing those relationships with people that are experiencing the same thing you're experiencing.
Uh, No, you hit it on the head, and I think it's you brought up the subject of COVID. I mean, none of us ever let's hope ever have to go through that in our lifetime again. But some good things did come out of COVID,
Sure.
and in especially in your industry, you're seeing it. I mean, um, offices had been designed in a particular manner for years and years. I think actually it was changing though, even prior to COVID. And this sort of expedited the whole. I mean, now it's still a challenge. I don't think there's a magical formula, which is good, I think, because
Oh, sure.
it creates new environments that offer, especially employees, a much more favorable workplace than what they've ever had in the past.
Yeah, and I know in our local market, which has been always very office user heavy because we have very large corporations. Now there's a lot of vacancy on
Mm,
office spaces. Now we even had requests from some owners to do some studies about converting to residential, because we have this massive vacancy on office, but we have all this lack of residential spaces, homes. Home builders are slammed right now, but then
right.
office people, they're looking for tenants, because I think what the breakthrough during COVID was, people went back home, had to go home to work, even if they wanted or not. And they did it for, 1 year, and they realized, oh, wow, I'm doing what needs to be done. Corporations say, the work is happening. So the business didn't need me to be there. And I think it's more of a generational mindset, because there is always this conversation about go back to the office, like, oh yeah, COVID, that's good, but let's go back to where we were before.
No.
And now 2-3 years later, we're realizing people are saying, why would I need to be there
Sure.
if when I'm home and I go 2-3 days at the office, the work is happening and I'm with my family. So this doesn't make sense. and that's what we're seeing now in vacancy on office buildings. And I think that's positive in just in a human perspective, because I don't have to be there.
No, I think it comes down to industry specific. Now that we've been through this, there's certain industries that no, those employees don't really need to be in an office 5 days a week, 3 days a week, maybe even at all. But industries that need to collaborate and marketing, architecture, whatever it may be, um, they need to, the human element. Just I was talking to a CFO, and he said of a branding company, and he said we can't do this on a Zoom call. He said, sometimes we need to see the nonverbal communication that
Yep.
tells us what's how everyone's feeling. We can't look at a screen and really identify that. So yeah, I mean, no one knows the formula. It's still being processed, but that's opportunity for growth too
Oh
in,
yeah,
in many industries.
for sure. So if you can wave a magic wand and think about 5, 10 years down the road, what would you expect the CoCoTiv brand to be and to provide to not only our community but maybe nationwide or worldwide?
Well, we are definitely looking to expand, and I mean, you've done work. We were prior to COVID. We were looking at 4 different locations in Charlotte, and in planning designs on those offices, and it probably was a blessing that none of those went through just due to economic reasons.
Yeah.
So we've obviously we just did a further expansion within our own space, which you designed 16 new offices, which that's where the demand has been. And now we're looking at other locations. But for the immediate future, we're going to stay with outside of the 277. I think
Hmm.
our suburban concept is where we want to focus,
Yeah.
and most likely into the future. So I think there's right now there's opportunities in Charlotte that we will first look at expanding, and then regionally, and take it from there. I've been in the business. The further you get away from your home base, the harder it is to manage. But if you have the right people, it's very doable. And I think we'd like to scale this up to a point, whether it's 5 years. 10 years is a long time, Jack. You're pushing it. let's talk 5 years.
Sure.
I'm going to need more than that. um, Scale this to a point where we would look at a merger or a sale.
Yeah.
And having a background in real estate, I want to stay in real estate, and that's what this concept it creates. The operating company itself can go in and anchor potentially, whether it's a floor, 2 floors of a larger building, or a single purpose building,
Sure.
and then create value there to build up the equity in the actual real estate. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the opportunity lies for our group is ultimately in the real estate. But we have unlike a lot of companies, we actually bring something to the table and create cash flow for whether it's the owner or landlord. And we're seeing a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities for partnerships and management agreements that we will be pursuing
Sure.
into the future.
Yeah. So one of the things that I know is happening is not everyone that needs to be there, because I've been there, they don't know about it. Because it's hard. I know you guys do all your efforts in marketing, business development, and online advertising, but the amount of businesses that are in need to be there are so many is ridiculous. How do you think you can reach those prospects? Because I know they're out there, and what's the benefit they get? How what will be the selling pitch to all these small companies, or one person firms that are starting, that I know that's the right place for them to be?
That's a great question. I mean, I've never figured out the advertising and marketing piece. It's always evolving. I mean, I come from the day where it was print, radio, potentially television, and thank God for for digital and social media because the costs and the effectiveness have brought the exposure. I mean, the cost way down and the exposure, but then you're competing with, the world out there
I
in
know.
SEO
Yeah.
and if you want to, buy space, it's very expensive. So it's a combination. You have to do some paid advertising, marketing. Organic will only take you so far, but then it's also just networking,
Yeah.
getting out there in the community, and I enjoy that. I love, wherever I go. If someone was telling me this, I was like, well, hey, come by and check us out sometime.
Sure.
And I try to get ambassadors like yourself.
Yeah.
The more people I can get out there just saying, hey, whoa, I know of a business where you might look at that. And fortunately, the majority of our business, even though we do advertise on LoopNet and Crexy and other platforms, it's all referral. And that's just working it. And
Sure.
and you've got to continue because yes, paid advertising will help, but you've got to supplement that with everything else that you can do on your own.
Yeah. And I think what I like the most is that you're doing what you're asking your tenants to pay for. Like you're doing it.
Sure.
You're not you're not a large corporation. You have the same challenges we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we're only in the same boat. And I think that's what's very attractive because we buy we don't buy when we understand, we buy when we feel understood.
Oh, wow.
So
God, I should write that down. I like that.
So, and that feels like, oh, you get it. You get what I am.
Yes.
And we're on the
Yes.
same team.
Right.
Let's do it because that's a whole different attitude than, oh, I want to charge you this, but let me hide this cost here and you have all these rules. Like the way you guys make it, it's very similar to the way any people that is at that same stage of business
Sure.
doing it. So I think that sense of communities and human connection is a huge thing that you guys bring to the marketplace that I have not seen, everywhere else.
No, I want to treat my members the same way they would treat me.
Mhm.
And I want feedback. We did a survey after our first or second year to learn, what are we doing right? What can we improve upon? And what else would you like to see? And we continue to do that because it's, I'm up for constructive criticism. I think
Sure.
one of the things I've learned is, people talk about what are your successes. I think I've had failure before. And I think it's learning how to overcome failure and how to persevere through tough times.
Sure.
And you just talked about COVID. I don't think I've ever been through anything like COVID before, but the 2008 recession was a very difficult time too. And I managed to get through that. But it builds character. And I think you learn from those experiences how to take that, whether it's failure or success, and move forward with that. So it's I just I enjoy being around people and I mean when they see me behind the desk, then the members come in like, oh boy, we're in trouble today. John's back there. I'm like, yeah, don't ask me to do anything.
Yeah.
So no, it's all good. I love the rapport, and I try to make. I mean, it's hard because I think right now we have, with all our memberships, we have over 200 members, but I try to
Wow.
make it a point to know everyone.
Sure.
And especially their first name so that I
Yeah.
can greet them. It's a challenge because sometimes it's like, Jerry, and I'm like, Jerry,
Yeah.
who is that?
Yeah, and I think that's very important because at the end of the day, every human, it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, we all want to feel appreciated. We want to feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
We value when somebody notices what we're doing, and I feel that that's happening at CoCoTiv. That touch is there.
Yeah.
And not only from you, but from people you hire, because they, even if you don't tell them do this, they see you doing it and they feel like it.
Right.
You feel that connection that you're like, oh wow, when I'm here, I'm not just a person paying for this space. I'm a human.
Yep.
We're connecting, and that connection means a lot to everyone.
Well, you know better than anyone. You built this firm. It's by leadership, and I know your people here, and they have great respect for that. And your one associate, Paul. I would come in after work, after a workout. He would be there almost every night, and I'm like, you're any employer's dream. You're doing this on your own. You don't have to be spending the hours that you do, but you're the same way. You were always there, and like I said, it's you lead by example.
Sure. Yeah. Well, John, it's been 38 minutes, and I want to finish this by thanking you because, I'll tell you again, you have been a great part of my journey about starting my own business. And, now I have my own office, which I design and it's happening. And to me, it's a dream
Sure.
that became a reality. And it's sometimes I cannot believe it. I'm like, this is crazy. How come this is happening? And you have been part of that.
Well, thank you, Jack.
You personally have been a great value in my life personally. I've learned a lot from you and business, everything. So I really appreciate who you are and all the value that you have added to my life.
Well, thank you, Jack. Your success is my success. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for you from where you've come from, a native of Colombia. And what I consider you fulfill the American dream. Keep up the good work.
100%. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content. And find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.